Bob Saget's here for you. That's right. That's me. And I'm talking in third person, which means I need to see my shrink, but he's not returning my calls. But I've got a podcast that's out now that I'm really excited about. And I know I'm the last person to do it. No, I'm the first comedian who's ever done a podcast. The podcast is called Bob Saget's Here for You. And I'm doing it because even the neighbor kid has one. There's a pony down the street that has one, a gopher. And so I'm starting one. You want to subscribe now to where you get your downloads, and I will be there. But it will have occasional guests that will be meaningful to me, and I hope to you. And it'll just be me talking to you guys, and I'll be on the phone sometimes, just talking to my agent, complaining about things. But mostly it's to bring you entertainment and to spend some time with you and be real. Bob Saget's here for you, and I'll be there.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a part of the Dead End Podcast Network. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and all other podcasting services. Please make sure you check out Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports, Dead End Gaming, Is the Mic Still On, Chris Platt's Strictly Hip Hop and Hoops Talk, and a host of other shows on our podcast network. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. It's been a few weeks. Had a little bit of a technical issue at home with the technology, of course, but we're back up and running, and we got one of our favorite guests back on the show. My man Jeff Jones, host of the very successful, very popular, very great, and awesome podcast, Jeff versus the World. What's going on, Jeff? Welcome back to the show, man.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody?
No doubt, no doubt. Glad to have you back on, man. And yesterday, actually, last night was a good night if you're a sports deprived fan, because we finally got the long anticipated, long awaited 30 for 30. The Last Dance, chronicling the 97-98 Chicago Bulls and, of course, Michael Jordan. So before we kind of get into it, and we kind of get into the film, the first two episodes or whatever, just kind of want to get your thoughts overall on the first two episodes last night. Just kind of give me a general grade, 10 being great, 1 obviously being absolutely horrible. How would you grade the first two episodes last night?
I haven't thought about that. With the grade I would give it, because I was just so, I don't know, like the TV had my attention last night. So if I had to grade it as far as that, it's like 10 plus. Like they knocked it out the park, especially with the footage they used. It was just like, wow, and they did a good job of editing things. I was just like, okay, like this is, yes, ESPN is really doing that thing right now. So as far as that goes, yeah, they knocked it out the park. A lot of the things as far as the story goes, with Jordan and the Bulls, it was a lot of things that I think we all knew. And I think it was more interesting seeing some of the younger fans, basketball fans, or the people who never saw Jordan play and just heard about the Bulls and heard about Jordan and enjoying their reaction to it. I think I got more kick out of that last night than anything, because I saw some of the people was like, wait a minute, I didn't know he was like this. And that was just a clip, especially, when they showed him going against the Celtics and dropping 63. I just saw people like, oh yeah, y'all said he was good, but man, he was like lighting them up. And I'm like, yeah, it was a thing where if you didn't see it, you'll never understand. Never understand.
Facts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought they first two episodes in, they hit a home run. I can't find anything that I would even nitpick about the first two episodes last night. I mean, it was just absolutely phenomenal. Great television for 2 hours. We'll get into more of the details and different things and different kind of plot points, for lack of a better word, as we kind of go over the episodes. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought it was great. It's interesting because at the beginning, I was in the lead up to this 30 for 30, I was wondering, kind of, because they were kind of vague on the details. I mean, if you look at kind of the the description, it's, chronicling the 97-98 Bulls, that final season, and Michael Jordan. So I was kind of wondering, how were they going to lay out the show specifically? Was it going to be Jordan or all Jordan and just a little bit of the Bulls, or just was it like a 30 for 30 where they were just going to be talking about the Bulls dynasty, in particular that final season? How were they going to kind of balance those two things? I mean, and obviously they have 10 episodes, so I was kind of interested in how they were going to kind of lay that out. But I thought they did a good job of kind of balancing kind of two timelines, essentially. Kind of the 97, going into the end of the 97 season, going into that 98 season, balancing that timeline, and also the timeline of Jordan's basically rise, from high school to college to his first 2 years in the league, kind of balancing those two timelines. I thought that was really dope, kind of like, two timelines in the same film. So I thought that was really dope.
Not only that, that second episode was really Pippin's episode.
Yeah, they showed, they actually dedicated time to actually talking about Scotty, which was, I thought was really cool, and you really got to kind of understand Scotty's situation, and we'll get to that, as we get along in the episode. But yeah, you're absolutely right that they actually dedicated that time to actually focus on. I mean, for those that didn't watch it, I mean, they definitely, it's still Michael Jordan's show, so it right. It's not like it's not a Michael Jordan 30 for 30. It definitely is. But I think they're using these episodes to kind of, and I think you follow a theme here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, next week is a Phil episode, or, a Dennis Rodman episode. So, they're kind of using those episodes to kind of, also talk about Jordan, but also kind of highlight the important figures that contributed to Jordan's rise and contributed to the Bulls' success. So yeah, that was really dope, man. I really enjoyed that aspect of the show. I thought it was well done. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I really, really enjoyed the first two episodes last night. I can only imagine what the next 8 are going to be like, because if they're anything like last night, then we're in for a few weeks of really good television. But yeah, let's kind of get into I would say, what are the three things that, if you had to limit it to three, and I'm sure you can probably go, we can I mean, this list can go tenfold, right? But what are the three things that kind of stuck out from the first two episodes last night in your mind? The three things that were kind of the talking points for last night's episodes.
I think the three things for me would be, number one would be just Jerry Krause. That's number one.
Yep.
And just the whole dynamic that was going on really in 1997, 98, when they were showing you exactly what was going on, where, nobody was getting along with him. And every time Jordan saw him, he was roasting. And just to think, like, wait a minute, that's your boss. Yeah. So what's going on again? And I thought that the way they showed that, I thought that was great. The way they gave you, Phil Jackson's point of view, and Michael's point of view, and Scotty's point of view. I mean, the three people that, pretty much are the figureheads of that team, and how they felt about him just in general. They didn't like him, and it was no secret. And I'm just still amazed, like, how y'all doing this right now? And I get it. It was Michael Jordan. You got 5 championships. You got MVP. You bringing so much money into this house. Yeah, I guess you can get away with stuff like this. It's almost like when Shawn Michaels back in the day used to just spaz out on Vince, and Vince took it because he was that good. And he was just like, at that point, I can't let him go. I need him. I think the second thing would be just the growth, or how we're seeing who Jordan was from college to where they're at in the show, which is 97, 98, making that last run for the title. Mm-hmm. And you can tell there's two different Jordans. It's that wide-eyed rookie, I'm going to take you one-on-one, not really knowing no nonsense Jordan. And then it's Jordan season. And Jordan, who's, done this 5 times now, as far as championships, and just who you've always heard he was, how he can be an asshole and and you just saw a couple of glimpses. I think it was like 2 or 3 you saw.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so that's what everybody was talking about. And I think the third thing is just the whole Scottie Pippen contract. And that just brings me back to my point now. I would never, ever, I'm always going to be pro player, no matter what sport it is. I don't care, because I see how situations can go down. And this is just one, for example. Now, granted, we'll get into it later. I understand why Scottie signed the contract. I definitely understand that. Mm-hmm. And there's been plenty of jobs in my life I've taken knowing that I needed to make more, but at the time I needed money.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I understand where he was coming from. But in the same token, and we'll get to it later, you just, you didn't know this revenue was going to come in like it did. You didn't know it was going to be a boom. You didn't know this money was just going to be coming, and it never really stopped. Like, look at the NBA now. So mm-hmm. I just don't think management did right by Scott. And I can understand his frustration and him being angry and him just lashing out. And Jordan, to say it's selfish, I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute, buddy. You're making a 30 plus million this year alone. Not saying you don't deserve it, but if I am like probably the second best player in the league, yeah, I need some of that money too. But yeah, those are my 3 things.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I would say those are the 3 kind of big headlines from yesterday. Let's touch on the Scottie thing, because I know you want to talk about the Scottie thing. I think that would be number 1 on most people's, just from kind of reading Twitter and analyzing obviously the memes and everything. The Scottie thing. Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think the Scottie thing was very interesting. I know that for myself, I didn't know that he was paid that little. And you brought up something, when we first started the podcast, people kind of getting to see this with a 2020 lens, younger folks that didn't, watch Jordan. So like I'm 33 going on 34. So when the 90s Bulls was my childhood, so I remember them. I remember these things being in the headlines, but I was also 10, 11, 12 years old. So, you're still an avid sports fan, but you don't know everything that you do, that now, obviously. With, you're in your 30s, you're older, you have a different perspective. When you're a kid, you just, you're looking at this 90s Bulls team like they're fucking Avengers. You know what I mean? Like they're just superheroes. Like it just like, so it's a different mentality. So even for me, it was a little bit of a learning, because even though I watched and I knew these things happen, I knew the animus between the players, Phil Jackson and Jerry Krause, kind of looking at it through a 2020 lens and looking at it now older, removed, and seeing it, it's definitely captivating, and it gives you a different perspective, obviously. The Scottie thing, like I was saying though, I never knew or remembered him making that little. Like that was just so jarring. And I think the thing that people have to understand is that this is still, early 90s is when he signed that contract, 91,
I believe.
91, yeah. So this is, the NBA, free agency existed, but it was still the infancy of free agency in the NBA. The game really didn't change. Free agency didn't really start coming into its own. I would say, at least for me, when I started thinking about free agency the way I think about it now, was the summer of Shaq, 96. That was when free agency really kind of got to that next level, to the level that really you see it today in the NBA, where you had one player basically controlling the entire narrative of the offseason. And, that was 5 years after Pippen signed that contract. So that was 5 years, and the game had changed to a point, where free agency was a big deal. And I think that people need to realize that, because I think we watch it through a 2020 lens, and we're sitting there outraged, like, wait, what? Scottie made this much? And how, so I think context and perspective is everything, especially in understanding the timeline and understanding where the timeline of events in which they happen. I think it's important to understand that. That being said, I guess one of the talking points from last night was, who do you blame for Scottie's contract situation? And obviously there's a lot of people that you could blame. Obviously people can throw the blame at the person himself, Scottie Pippen. People can throw the blame at his agent, Jimmy Sexton. People can throw the blame at Jerry Reinsdorf. People can throw the blame at Jerry Krause. Jordan was even mentioned, and I'll ask you, where do you kind of lay the blame? I think you got to first and foremost blame the person. Scottie Pippen, nobody held a gun to Scottie Pippen's head. Nobody made him sign a contract. I understand that Scottie had some family pressures and things going on at home. And look, I will never knock a person for that, because we've all been in a situation where, we've had issues at home define and dictate what we do from a career perspective. That being said, for a guy to be, and it wasn't like Scottie was a rookie at that point in 91 where he signed his contract. I mean, Scottie had been in the league now for a good 5-6 years. At that point, you kind of have to know the winds of change. You kind of have to know what's going on in the business and understand, like, there's a storm brewing. And, so I lay most of the blame on Scottie, and then, his agent too. Like, Jimmy Sexton is a known agent. He's not an idiot. And I know probably Jimmy Sexton probably told Scottie, and it was mentioned on the show that he was advised against signing that contract. But I mean, if you're an agent, and I get it, you're limited because people forget the agent works for the player. I know how it's framed sometimes in the media and in the narrative. Sometimes we act like the agents are the ones holding all the cards, and it's not. The agents are working for the players. So never forget that. At the end of the day, they are an employee of the player. If the player does not like something that the agent does, the player can drop them easily. So I'm sure Jimmy Sexton probably had his trepidations, like, yo, you really going to sign this deal? Like, oh, it looks kind of below market value. Like, but if you're Jimmy Sexton, I mean, I think you gotta smack some sense into Scottie at least. Like, yo, man, let's come back to the table. Let's negotiate. Let's think this over. And I'm sure those things happen. So, but still, I think you got to have some sort of blame in that if you're his agent. And then the next guy I would blame is Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry Reinsdorf, he said it on the podcast, he said it on the episode last night that, he never renegotiates deals. Like, he doesn't even want to talk to guys, after they sign a deal. And I understand that, because I get it. There is something to honoring a commitment. There is something to honoring a contract. I think that when you sign on a dotted line, you should honor that commitment. You should honor that contract. I think there is something to that. That being said, when the guy is getting raped, like, when the guy is basically getting fucking worked by the system, like, at some point, like, you also got to step in and say, you know what? Let me give my man a bonus or something. Like, let me give my man some under the table or something. Like, cause I mean, really, the guy was making it during the midst of this championship run. I mean, the guy was making what, $2 million? $2 million. Think about that. I mean, there were dudes in the leagues that were making triple what Scottie was making, and they weren't even half the player that he was. So, yeah, I think the third person I would throw in that list is Jerry Reinsdorf. Like, you're the owner, you're the guy that's running the show. You got to probably step in there and say, yo, Scottie, like, you sure you want to do this? Like, I don't know. That's just me. That's where do you sit on that? Where would you lay the blame on from the contract perspective on the whole Scottie Pippen thing?
I guess, see, I'm not close to the situation, but I understand exactly what Scottie was doing. I totally understand the pressures of family and having to make that money. And it's been,
absolutely.
Like I said before, it's been plenty of times I've taken a job and they say, well, we're going to pay you this much. And we talk about it. It's like, well, we can only pay you this much. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, I'll take it. But as in, when I'm thinking Scottie was thinking is, I've came here, I worked, and I've gone beyond what you even expected from me. Way beyond what you expected from me. We have 5 championships right now. At this point, just by what I bring to the table, because this shit doesn't work without me. Say what you want. This does not work without me.
Facts.
So in that last year, I felt like they should, but you know what? Let's ball this contract up and let's get you some money. Because you're right, Scottie. This doesn't work without you. This absolutely does not work without you. And if I have to put blame on, yes, he did sign the contract. I totally understand why he signed the contract. So I guess I will put him at number 1. And then 2 and 3 is, I can't think of the name. The 2 Jerrys. It's both their fault.
Klaus and Reinsdorf.
Yeah, Reinsdorf. That's his name, Reinsdorf?
Jerry Reinsdorf.
Jerry Reinsdorf. Okay. So I felt like he didn't want to be the bad guy. So Krause had to be the bad guy for him. And a lot of the way it seemed like it was portrayed, it was like, okay, you're going to take all the shit, but you got to do it because that's your job, and I don't want to have to deal with this. But he should have stepped in and just been like, you know what? I'll take this one. Let me talk to Scotty. Scotty will do something for you because you deserve it. Nobody expected the league for this to happen. For all this money to come to the league, nobody expected it. I didn't expect all this money to be here in Chicago. And you're a part of the reason why it's here. So you deserve a piece of the pie. And you know who else I blame? I blame fucking Jordan. I believe Jordan had enough of a voice to say, hey, we got to look out for Scotty. We got to look out. If you can get on national TV and say, I needed Scotty there at the beginning of the year, and I felt like he was being selfish, you can in turn say, you know what? Scotty did deserve his money, and maybe I should have spoke up for him. What are you going to do, get rid of Jordan? No, he has a voice. So I think he should have used his voice, and I don't know the dynamics of their relationship. It seemed like now in 2020, they're just teammates. Oh, that was the best teammate I've ever had. I don't know if it was like a friendship. I don't know how close they are. So maybe Jordan didn't know. Again, this is seasoned Jordan. Maybe he didn't want to dive into those waters because there's a lot of subjects and a lot of things that he wouldn't talk about. He wouldn't do. And in turn, these younger guys will do that now. They'll speak up for other players and whatever it may be. Right. So I guess the blame can go around in a lot of places, but if I have to say it, yes, you have to point at Scotty first because you did sign the contract and you know how this organization is. I just think this was a time to say, you know what? I know how we normally do business, but this is rare. This is super rare. Scotty, you're the second best player, arguably the second best player in the league. So we need to pay you like you're the second best player. Right. Luke Longley shouldn't be making more money than you. Ron Harper shouldn't be making more money than you. That's just insane. And that's what Jerry Reinsdorf. Yeah, like that's just impossible to me. Like you the one that signs the checks. So you look at the payroll, my man. Like the fact that Luke Longley is making more than Scottie Pippen. I mean, it's unforgivable. You know what I mean? Like it's just how do you run a business and consider yourself a smart businessman and look at that and be like, huh? I mean, I guess in a way it is smart because you're paying for. Yeah, it's smart. I'm getting it for a steal. Yeah, exactly. No, so I take that back. Yeah, you're getting a guy that's. I mean, a Hall of Fame top 50 NBA talent for the low. So yeah, from a business perspective, from Jerry Reinsdorf's pockets, like yeah, he's probably like, he's laughing to the bank. But yeah, I'm with you. The only thing I will go back on you on is the whole Jordan thing, and not to try to hate for Jordan or defend Jordan. Because I've seen this a lot on Twitter, like, oh, people ripping into Michael Jordan, like, oh, you call a guy that's making $2 million selfish and you're making $36 million. And yeah, that selfish is a little strong, especially coming from Michael. But, that being said though, like, it's not Michael Jordan's job to get Scottie Pippen a contract. Like this idea that Michael Jordan was supposed to be Scottie Pippen's, Batman to his Robin and also his agent or his pseudo agent. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, look, could Michael have done more? Could Michael have gone to Jerry Reinsdorf and said, yo, you know what? Give my man a pay raise. Like, what are we doing here? Like, could Michael have done more? Yeah, absolutely. And I think if that team existed in today's climate, I think Michael would have done more because I think it would have been expected that players look out for other players in a different way that just wasn't the case back in 1997, 1998. So yeah, I agree. But that being said, that wasn't Michael's responsibility. And also, I probably think Michael didn't want nothing to do with that. Like you said, Michael was a guy that he was very careful about his image. So I think Michael was, I think, what's that? I say he was strategic about everything.
Yeah, very strategic. Very, very strategic. Almost to a fault, depending on your perspective. So I think Michael probably was like, look, I ain't even going to touch that because, you come out on any side, If you come out in defense of Scotty, you know, you're going to piss off people to like, oh, you know, guys arguing about millionaires arguing about millions and blah, blah, blah. And then if he comes out knocking Scotty, then it's, oh, look at Jordan. He's a sellout, blah, blah, blah. So that's a no-win situation in a lot of ways.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that's a no-win situation, because that's almost if let's say me and you, we had our own podcast. You know, we got our own thing, but we have one podcast that we come and do. Right. And we say, you know what? This doesn't work. Manny doesn't work without Jeff, and Jeff doesn't work without Manny. So with this podcast that we have and what we do, we feel like we should be getting paid, you know, equally or either similar, you know, the same.
Right.
And if I see, well, you know, if I find out through the grapevine, well, you're making this much, but I'm like, wait a minute, you're making that much, but I'm making this much. And we both, you know, we are both are vital to the podcast, and we both bring something to the podcast that without each other it doesn't work. Then I would say, hey, he need to get paid. I would openly say that. And that's just because that's the type of person I am. And I understand, like I said, you know, Jordan picked certain things, but because let's be real and real. Jordan never got the money that he deserved in Chicago. He only got it at the tail end where he was getting the 1-year deals, you know, 30, you know, he was getting it like that, but he never got the money that he was just due. So I don't want to make it seem like Scotty was the only one getting jerked around, because Jordan got jerked, and I'm pretty sure other players are, you know, in that era, you know, if you want to look at them, but those are the two top players that, you know, money, and you look at the overall what they made with Chicago, and you're like, wait a minute, they should have made more than that, because you look at now, these dudes are making that money in what, 3 years? 3-year contracts.
Now they're overpaid. Now they're overpaid. I mean, just think about it. Tobias Harris has made more probably in his NBA career than Scottie Pippen. Think about that for a second.
That's insane. But you can't blame the player, because hey, if they gonna give it to me, I'm going to.
Oh, no. Absolutely. I'm with you. I don't knock Tobias Harris or any player now like eat. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to criticize the contract, you know, because I can still call out like, damn, y'all paying $180 million to Tobias Harris. I could criticize the contract. I never criticize the player for taking it. Like, yo, your value is what somebody's willing to pay you.
Yeah.
You know, so if your
contract is insane. And they're going to go up again. That's the crazy thing. They're going up again. Absolutely.
I mean, you got good players making $200 million. Think about that shit. Like, yo, you got like borderline all-stars making $180 million. And Scottie Pippen was making $2 million. So I'm not trying to defend Jordan. Like, look, I agree with you. Could Jordan have done more? Could Jordan have, you know, especially those last couple of years?
That's all I'm saying.
Right. No, I agree with you. But this idea that we're just going to lay is a lot, and it's Twitter. I get it. But so Jordan's an easy punching bag at times. But like this idea that we're just going to knock Jordan specifically because of Scottie Pippen's own contract situation, like I don't like that. Like that doesn't sit well with me. Yes, could Jordan have done more? Could Jordan have been a voice, like you said? Absolutely, we agree with that. I just think that it's you know, at the end of the day, bruh, Scotty, come on, man. Come on, Scotty. Like, I wish I could be in the meeting with him and Jerry Reinsdorf and Jim Sexton as they're signing this and smack Scotty in the back of the head. Like, nigga, what are you doing? Like, you know, like, I wish I could have been there. But, you know, and it's also easy for us to look at it now through a 2020 lens and look at it. But at the time, you know, he probably felt like it was a smart deal. You know, even though it was below market value then, I mean, it was still, you know, and again, like you said, we don't know what was going on. I mean, I know he talked about it in the episode. I keep saying podcast, in the episode, but you know, he was going through a family situation. I believe both his parents were wheelchair bound and dealing with illnesses. And so, you know, Scotty probably was under the pressure, like under the gun, like, yo, I got to take care of my family. I got to take care of my peoples. Like, yo, I got to do what I got to do. And to a point, I get it. I understand it. Yeah. The money couldn't wait.
Yeah, I totally know where he was going.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, we've all been. I mean, I'm sure anybody who listens to this podcast will remember a time where we've made a career choice or a career decision based on family decisions or situations going on at home. So I can never knock a guy for doing that.
I just think, you know what? Maybe Jordan, you know, maybe maybe I was being too hard, but I just feel like he should be a voice. But general manager and owner, he's just like, bro, y'all see that y'all are making more money now. It's not like y'all are pinching pennies now. Right. And you see what he brought to the team. So just out of good faith, Scotty, you know we don't do this. You know how we do in Chicago. But because of A, B, C, and D, we're going to ball this up. Let's redo this for the next, 3 or 4 years. And let's get you the money that you rightfully, I'm going to say earn.
But it's not even that. But it's not even that. I'm not even saying rip up the contract. All I'm saying is his contract was up, after the 98 season? Sign an extension. Offer an extension.
Yeah, they usually, ball up to Owen and, okay,
right.
Started from here and whatever.
Or do the Mike Trout situation where, you basically add on to the deal you got. So, okay, your contract's up after 98. Let's go ahead right now, sign this 5-year, $100 million deal. There was better ways to do it.
And I think another thing was they were ready for everybody to go.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. I agree with you. I think ultimately that was. I think ultimately Scotty was a pawn in the overall frustration of the organization. I think that was the
Scotty back.
Yeah.
If we sign Scotty back, then oh no, people gonna think, we got to do this. Then Jordan, then back to Phil and English, meet that whole circle. When you tell a coach, if you go 82-0, you're still not coming back. That is the most batshit insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to that. Because a lot of people kind of had a problem. I guess the one nitpick, some folks, and a lot of these were media people that I wouldn't say some. I saw a few takes about this that it kind of didn't like how Jerry Krause was portrayed. They kind of felt like it's a little unfair to bash a guy who's no longer with us, who doesn't have the opportunity to have his voice heard. Because, this is all coming out from a perspective of the other folks involved, but we're not really hearing outside of clips and, highlights and clips of things that were said 20 years ago. So there's not a modern perspective. Unfortunately, Jerry Krause is no longer with us, so he can't offer his voice now to kind of say, well, this is what my thinking was, or this is what so how do you feel about that? Do you think that he was portrayed a little unfairly in that regard?
I don't think so. I think because even I remember younger hearing about the things about Jerry Krause. So there was no secret.
Right.
I think last night was just the openly talking about it, in a camera in your face, and somebody openly talking about it. But you always heard about Jerry Krause, he's not really a people person and really doesn't know how to talk to his players and all types of stuff like that. So I understand what people are saying, he can't defend himself, he's not here. But if 10 people tell you it's quacking, it was more than likely a duck. You know what I'm saying? 10 people ain't lying to you. No, 10 people are telling you who he was at that time. Now, because I heard Jay Williams say, before I guess he passed or whatever, when he got to know Jerry Krause told him that, I feel he felt a lot of regret about how he handled the situation with Michael Scotty Anfield. So, I guess there was a thing of, well, I messed this up. And, when you look back and you're like, damn, how did I mess that up? So he had that time to reflect. So, Jay Williams knew a whole different Jerry Krause.
Right.
But he still openly said, too, that he did make those mistakes in, 97, 98. And before then, that was the type of person he was, So it's hard. I get it. And, you got loved ones out there that, are, family and stuff that feel a certain type of way that maybe don't want him talked about like that. But I get it to a certain degree. But I guess, people want the truth. People want, there's no need to sugarcoat your feelings because, clearly Jordan didn't every time you saw him. It's like, all right, Jordan, we know you don't like him. Chill out, bro. You ain't got to roast your man every time you see him. So it's just, I'd rather have the truth than, people sugarcoat something for me. So if this is how they felt about him and, I respect that more than them just trying to sugarcoat it now because he's gone. Because Come on. And that means you're just being a phony. Because we're talking about that time. We're talking about that time frame. We're not talking about after or anything we're talking about, right? Putting yourself back in that moment.
Absolutely. No, I feel you. Absolutely. You're right. Although, like I said, and like you said too, yeah, it's hard because obviously when a person's no longer with us, it's a little bit tricky to do a documentary or something like that talking about that person without that person being able to defend themselves. So, and it would have been interesting to kind of hear from Jerry Krause in 2020 to see where his perspective was. Because people, like you said, people change.
Yeah.
You get time to reflect, when you're not in the heat of competition or battle, you just, and just when you age, you get wiser. Oh, most people do. Some people do anyway. You get wiser with age. And
you know what also happens too?
Mm-hmm.
When you start, when things start turning around and you won't winning like you used to. Well, where did I make the mistakes at? What did I do wrong? That's what I did wrong. So let me handle it different now.
Right.
It's easy when you winning to be, this hard ass or Jordan being this,
mm-hmm.
Jordan's being Jordan. It's easy when you winning, but we see what happens when Jordan becomes a Washington Wizard. We see what happened when Jerry Krause and Chicago Bulls not winning no more. We saw when Scottie Pippen was in Houston. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when you're not winning no more, things are turned different. You get it to, you get that time to, I guess,
your ego gets checked. Your ego gets checked too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
your ego
pretty much.
Checked. Yeah, absolutely. No, I just thought it was interesting, kind of bringing up the Jerry Krause perspective because he's been the biggest punching bag of this episode so far.
And I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to get worse.
No, it's not going to stop. It definitely is not going to stop. So yeah, no, absolutely, I'm with you on that. What about? So let's talk about Jordan on this episode. So just specifically on him. We talked about the podcast. We talked about, I keep saying podcast. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me today. Sorry, folks. I keep saying the episodes, specifically on Jordan. I know the episodes reflected, a lot of the other individuals involved in the Chicago Bulls, but let's talk about Jordan specifically, man. What was the thing that stuck out to you the most about Jordan? Kind of looking at the shows last night and everything that they talked about with him from his upbringing, his rise through college, and obviously the first couple years in the NBA. What was the thing that kind of stuck out to you the most?
It's funny. There's two things that stuck out to me. And the first thing is that I think his brother, Larry Jordan, kind of made him who he was.
Yeah.
Because he was always trying to beat him. And he made him that, they were so competitive that he got to fist fight. That's how competitive it was with those two. And because he wanted to beat his brother. So supposedly he may have been better than Jordan. So now, you can kind of understand his drive to win at everything from golf to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the second thing for me was just to see that transition from rookie Jordan to how they kept going back and how he was when he was a rookie and he was younger, second season, third season, and who he was in 97, 98. Because it just seemed like he was more of a hard ass when he got older. And I understand, people get older. The guy said, hey, can I get an autograph? And he just ignored you, man. He looked at him and just ignored him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's what I always heard. Even when one scene when the kid was giving the autograph, he never looked down at the kid. Never looked down, just filled out the autograph and was just like, get out the way.
Right.
And you see when they go back and you look at 84, Jordan is this wide-eyed, just happy to be in the NBA playing for Chicago and just lighting up the league. It's never like he never stopped lighting up the league. Let's be clear. But just having that no nonsense, no, I want to play. Well, you hurt. Well, what did they say? Oh, the doctor told him, we have 10 pills in here and one of them can cure you. Are you going to take the pill? And he's like, oh, wow, man, it's my fucking headache or whatever.
Yeah.
That Jordan, that's Michael Jordan. That's him right there. And you just don't meet people. And I think me and Shaheed were having a conversation last night. People say Kobe was close, like almost like Jordan-esque when it came to stuff like that. And I'm just like, I don't know about that because Jordan just sounded like a madman. He sounded like a madman, and it wasn't like he was speaking from, well, when I was younger, he was almost talking like even right now I would do it. Like even right now, if I could still play and somebody told me 10 pills and blah, and one of them killed me, yeah, I'll take the pill.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting. There's just Michael Jordan, the man, Michael Jordan, the basketball player. Listen, the basketball speaks for itself, but it's just something there, man. It's just something there that's not, and I'm not saying he's supposed to be, but it's just something there that's not forthcoming. Like you can't, like, it was something about Kobe where eventually Kobe let his guard down. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
he was that dog for the longest time, and eventually it was just like, nah, I'm tired of doing that. Like and Jordan even now is like, I'm still that dog. I still gotta, have this aura. I mean, trust me, there is an aura around Jordan. It's something like I don't think any other player would ever have. I don't even think LeBron has it because LeBron is more, I want to say for this era, he probably is the closest thing to Jordan, but he's more social.
He's nicer.
And that's only because of social. That's only because of social media. And in the social media age, it's different from Jordan because everything was hearsay. So we heard Jordan punch. Oh, we heard Jordan did this. Then it was like you get the news like this. Oh,
right.
Butler gets in a fight with Minnesota Timberwolves players. Mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm. How y'all know that? Right. Oh, we was there. They reported it. It just happened. Right. You know what I'm saying? So the news travels a little faster. Things happen, and we know. But with Jordan, it's still that mystique. Like, I don't know. It's always something a little murky, if that makes any sense. But like you just don't know, like, because we know about the gambling. Everybody knows about the gambling, but it's like, yeah, like it's Jordan, dude. I don't see myself. Jordan's not the type of guy that I think I would hang out with. He probably wouldn't hang out with me because I'm broke. As compared to him, I'm broke. But he just doesn't. I don't know, man. Jordan is Jordan.
He's not an embraceable figure. He's not a lovable figure from a personal perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, he's not that guy. You know what I mean? I've always kind of felt like the Jordan thing has always been a little overplayed because if you hear people talk, people make it sound like Jordan was the only sports figure that was like that. And it's hilarious. Like, I feel like if most people met their sports heroes, they wouldn't like them. Like, just from reading things and hearing about people. I mean, Larry Bird was surly. A lot of people, for every Magic Johnson that was approachable and just was a guy that you could just tell loved life. There was a Michael Jordan, you know what I mean? Just the opposite end of that spectrum. So I always kind of felt like that thing
got like he was early on. It seemed like he was. But, it just like something happened. The more fame came, the more he had to be guarded.
Right. And you got to think about it, too. I mean, this guy stepped onto the basketball scene, the basketball world, right, at a young age and was just so great so early on. I mean, people talk about how great LeBron was at 19. I mean, Jordan at 21 was averaging 35 points a game in a league with men in a time where the NBA was just totally different than it was even in 2003. So I think that this man stepped in and just dominated the league at such a young age, relative to the time, of course, not comparing it to LeBron or anybody, but relative to the time. And then he was so big. I mean, I think this is what people will learn from this, I almost did it again, from this documentary and these episodes, that how big Jordan was. Like, he's bigger than LeBron. Like, at LeBron's peak, there just will never be another Jordan. I mean, LeBron's close. We all know Kobe's big and a superstar, but Jordan was just, I mean, he transcended basketball. There has been no other superstar. I don't think there'll ever be another superstar that transcends his sport like Michael Jordan transcended his sport. Yeah. Like, Michael Jordan was bigger than basketball. LeBron has never gotten to that point. I'm sorry. Like, LeBron has never gotten to that point. Michael Jordan literally was bigger than the NBA. The persona, the image, the be like Mike, the sneakers, everything. I think people that
everything swole, everything happened all at the right time.
Right.
From his shoes, from his Gatorade to endorsements to TV to cartoons to movies. And his team, everybody, they just, they milked it, they worked it, and he just became bigger. And when you look at the world, it's like China, people in China knew who Jordan was. It was like, it was just, and now, of course, China knows about basketball players because they got teams now and they got this going on. It's different now, so it's hard for somebody. This is never going to happen again.
No, it's never going to happen again. I mean, Jordan put basketball on a worldwide stage. He just did. And I mean, the thing that's always the one image that has always kind of captivated me about Jordan, like the one thing that's always kind of like a snapshot in my head, is him in the '92 Olympics walking around Barcelona and that big ass billboard of him as he walks by it. And like that right there is like the perfect encapsulation of like who Jordan was, man. I mean, this guy is he was a god, man. I mean, he was literally a god he was Jesus Christ walking earth. Like, not to offend anybody religious, but it's just like, that's who that person was. And you ask like, what happened to Jordan? What was, what caused that change? And I think it's just, I mean, I can't imagine being a kid who's 22, 23 years old and just basically having the world in your palm, like being the biggest athlete in the world at a time where being the biggest athlete in the world was, this was before the internet. This was before social media, at a time where that meant something. I can't imagine what that does to your psyche. Now, I'm not justifying it, not saying that was okay, that Jordan's sudden turn from being kind of this wide-eyed rookie to being almost a cynical asshole vet was warranted, but I just can't imagine how I would react to just having that amount of success and that amount of pressure too. I mean, think about the pressure. Like, think about the fact that this man had to go out there and be Michael Jordan every single night. You know what I'm saying? And be this person that we're talking about every single night, and the pressure that comes with that. So I'm not forgiving Michael Jordan, but I kind of understand. Plus, I'm always a person that like, I just want people to be themselves. Like, I want people to be like, if you're an asshole, be an asshole. Be who you are. Like, I can't stand phony people. And the one thing about Jordan is like, he was who he was. Like, and I think Jordan kind of was the person that was like, yo, take it or leave it. I'm me. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a way, he was who he was, and that was genuine.
He absolutely knows he's Victor Rondo, and that's fine. He knows it. I know he knows it.
Yeah,
he knows it because, and you can tell when they get to the later episodes they previewed. He's not likable. And
in a way, I respect that. In a way, I respect it, man. In a way, you are who you are.
This is where I respected it, because if we're teammates and I'm Michael Jordan, I need to get you guys to be better. I need y'all to be better, because there's going to be situations a la John Paxson, Steve Kerr, where I may need you to bail me out or bail this team out. Mm-hmm. You can't depend on me because I may not have the shot. I think that Jordan needed to get his teammates together. Mm-hmm. He needed to push them to a certain point. And I think sometimes with that, you can go over the point. You can say some hurtful things. You can say some things that some people are just not going to get over. Look at Kevin Durant.
Right.
And people just feel a certain type of way and they start looking at you different. Mm-hmm. So it may be something that happened in practice, but some of them guys maybe took it outside of practice. Like, I just don't like him. He's not a good person. He's not a nice person or whatever. But the reality was his job wasn't to be your friend. It was to be your teammate and to win these championships. Now, if a friendship come out of it, fine. But he wanted those championships. He wanted that. He wanted the Chicago Bulls to be number one. So to that, I can understand him trying to push other players because that's what you want. That was his way of leading. Right or wrong, that was his way of leading. And I can't speak if it was right or wrong. I just think I knew his mentality. I mean, he came from North Carolina, he's a Q dog. So he's an alpha. That's number one. You got to realize Jordan is an alpha. If he ain't number one, wasn't it Ricky Bobby? You ain't first, you're last. That's Jordan right there. If you ain't first, you're last. He always wanted to be first, no matter was it pool, golf or basketball. So, I mean, that I can understand. Now, I hope we ain't gonna find out some madness that he may have done, and I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, Jordan is Jordan, like him or not. And I think with my older age, now, you know, to me as a kid, Jordan was like, wow, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to be like Mike. I'm buying Jordan. Now as a older adult, I'm like, yeah, I'm buying Jordans, but I know Jordan could probably be an asshole. Like, yeah. I know that. Like, it's not like some big secret or something that we all don't know, because we've all heard stories. We've all heard certain things, you know, who was Paxson or Steve Kerr, one of them had a black eye. So it's just like, yeah, man, you know, it is what it is with Jordan, but I don't fault him for it, because look what came out of it. We wouldn't even be talking about 6 championships and the 6 MVPs and the countless other all-star games and MVPs and U.S. Olympics and all that good stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, and the other thing about it, and I know it sounds so cliche, but, you know, that's what made Jordan Jordan. Like, I know we like to think that in a perfect world, you can be this ruthless competitor and still be an approachable, huggable guy, but maybe you can't. Maybe that's what made him that guy. Like, he probably made a decision long ago that if I really want to take myself to that next level, I have to be this person. Like, I have to be this kind of just just monster, you know what I mean? Essentially. But the things that makes a person's kind of biggest deficiencies is sometimes what makes them great. You know, that lack of personality, that lack of approachability, that lack of just kind of warmth to Jordan is what made him great in a lot of ways. It's what pushed him. It's what drove him to be this kind of, that maniacal kind of just do anything in his power to kill you and to beat you is what made him great. And maybe you wonder, like, maybe if he wasn't that person, who knows? Maybe he doesn't accomplish all the things that he needs to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very interesting kind of case study on Michael Jordan. But yeah, you're right, man. I guess for me, like, I've always.
I'll say real quick, you could tell that also too, that his family played a lot into that too. Just, you know, how competitive they were, how, you know, him and his brothers were. So that really played a factor into it. Because I remember, you know, when you have childhood friends and maybe one friend might be a little bit too hyped up about this game and winning, and you just kind of casually playing, and you kind of like, chill, bro, it's just a game. You can have the dub, going ham over it. But that's just because, you know, they may have a brother who always beats them, so they take that competitive edge with them. And, you know, it's like, oh, I got to beat you because, you know, it's just that thing. I know how that is. I've seen it happen plenty of times. So his family and his family had a lot to do with it.
Absolutely. Your upbringing, your background, your environment breeds the person that you are going to be when you become a man, when you become a woman, when you know, as you grow up, as you mature, as you get older, your environment, you are a product of your environment. You are a product of your upbringing. So, not every case does that apply. Some people change, some people evolve over time, but, you know, in a lot of ways it is what it is. So, and I guess the thing I was going to say that because I used to be, you know, we all, as kids, we used to lionize these people and wow, Michael Jordan, he's probably, like, I can't wait to meet him. He's probably
right.
But I think as I've gotten older, maybe I've gotten more cynical or just real, whatever. My thing with athletes, man, and celebrities in general is I expect them to be assholes, so that if I ever come across a situation where I do meet a celebrity and they are not assholes, they can actually exceed my expectation. Like, oh, I'm surprised. Like, I just automatically assume them to be assholes, man. Like, I'm just gonna, you know, because I've learned that just because these people are celebrities, just because these people are iconic and whatever, they're human. At the end of the day, they're human. They have personalities just like we do. They take a shit just like we do. They have the same flaws and deficiencies that we do. You know what I'm saying? So it's, you know, athletes are people. At the end of the day, there's just like we encounter people in our everyday lives. Some people are great. Some people are assholes. Some people can be both. You know, I guess I've just learned to, and maybe it is cynicism, but I've just learned to just see athletes as who they are, as just people. And people are just genuinely going to be flawed human beings. That's just who we are as human beings.
You know what's funny about that? And I know this is a sideways thing, but I got to meet CM Punk.
Yep.
You know, that was probably my favorite encounter ever.
Really?
Talking to somebody. Really. And I don't know. Everybody say, yo, you just called him on a good day. And they're probably right. Maybe I did catch him at the right day. But he was just really cool and chill. And like, it was maybe like a 4 or 5 minute conversation. We were talking about Ring of Honor, and this is when he was in WWE, but he was like talking about stuff about Ring of Honor, and I was just like, oh, that's cool or whatever, stuff like that. And it was like, wow, that was not what I expected, but it was cool.
But isn't that all of us though? Like, I always laugh when people say like, oh, that's everybody in a nutshell. Like, I like to think of myself as a nice guy, but who knows? Maybe somebody met me one time and I had just gotten off a long day at work. And my first impression of that, what I gave out, what the energy that I put out to that first encounter with somebody was probably an asshole vibe. And that person is now judged me as an asshole forever. You know what I mean? So like, isn't that all of us in a way? Like, we all like to think of ourselves like, oh, we're all better people than that. Like, I just hate judging people on their worst days and on their best days. Like, sometimes you catch somebody on their best day and you think that that's who they are all the time. Maybe they're assholes 99% of the time. You just caught them on that 1% day. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. So I always try to keep an open mind with that. Like, I always try to say like, look, man, we're all human beings. Sure. I'm sure you've met somebody initially first time in and they caught you on a wrong day and they probably shaped their perception of you based on that negative encounter. Does that mean that you're that's Jeff every day, 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Right. So it's the same thing with me. And it's the same thing with most human beings. You know what I mean? So that's why I always try to maintain an open mind for that stuff. So let's wrap up. Anything else about the show? Let's talk about kind of the peripheral stuff, cinematography, the soundtrack, things of that nature. Anything else that stuck out to you? I know for me, the soundtrack was so dope. Yeah. Like, and it just fit perfectly. You know what I mean? Like everything, like obviously the one that stuck out to me was, Rakim when they're going over the game 2 of the Eastern Conference first round series in '86 against the Celtics. They play I Ain't No Joke. Like perfect. Just fit perfectly to the scene that they were trying to, into what they were trying to convey. You know what I'm saying? The soundtrack was just really, really dope. Classic hip hop, kind of fit with the time and the timeline that they were going for. What about you? Anything else that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I think the music too. For me, it was LL Cool J, I'm Bad. So it was game 2 against the Celtics, and I was just like, was that? I got the scenes confused. Was it? I'm Bad. That's what it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but that was for game 2. I think game 1 they did play Rakim.
Okay,
they played both of them.
Yeah.
So I think that was game 1 Rakim, and game 2 was I'm Bad. And it's just like, I just think the visuals is going back seeing some of that stuff that you haven't seen in a long time or you've never seen before. It was a good feeling, man. Because it was a good feeling. Like I said, I think I love the fact that people younger than me who never saw Jordan play at least is getting a glimpse of who and what he was. Because it's easy to say, well, LeBron is A, B, C, and that's because you watched it in the moment. You're in the moment of it. But if you weren't in the moment of Jordan, then it's hard for us to describe. It's hard for us to tell you about it because you just had to be there to see it. And just like these people, when they grow up and their kids will be talking about, well, what's so great about LeBron James? We had to see him play.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just the way these things work. I mean, who knows? Our kids will be talking about, Joe Schmo in 2035. Like, yo, this dude is bad, dude. He's a bad dude, dad. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah. And I'll probably bring up Kobe, or I'll probably bring up LeBron, or I'll probably bring up Jordan. Like, you never saw these dudes play. And he'll probably have the same mentality as some cats now. Like, he played against a bunch of stiffs. Cause I've heard that, Jordan played against a bunch of stiffs. like if only they knew how good the NBA was back in the day. Like, just what?
I know something that we need to talk about though. We need to talk about this notion that these guys didn't hang out back in the day. Danny Ainge and Michael Jordan played golf before the playoff game.
Think about that. I think everybody thinks about Danny Ainge and Michael Jordan was 93, right? And the finals were they almost came to blows, and then like seeing them actually hang out, it was crazy. Like I never knew that. So no, you're right, absolutely.
So I don't want to hear nobody between the ages of 28 and 45 talking about something. Back in the day, they weren't hanging out and stuff. We just didn't know they were hanging out. That's just the problem.
Yeah, you're right. So before we get out of here, anything that you want to see covered, or what would you? I mean, we got 8 episodes to go. Anything that you want to see covered that you didn't see discussed in the first 2 episodes?
I'm interested in to see the dynamic, especially that year with Rodman. I always wondered about it because, after this is pretty much it for Rodman. I mean, he played for who did he play for? The Spurs and
Lakers, Mavericks. He kind of bounced around.
Yeah, he kind of bounced around. So, I'm interested
in played for the Spurs before the
talk
Bulls.
about this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what did he think about this year and what were the things that he was going through? I think he might have touched on it on his 30 for 30 run, but it'll be good to hear him talk about it. And I'm sure they're gonna talk to Phil. I'm really anticipating when they just start talking about the Detroit Pistons, because I know that's gonna be something Mike gonna enjoy talking about and probably hate talking about, just because of how they beat him up, man.
They did.
And I try to tell people
they did.
The one difference about the game back then was they were mugging people. 3 people just beating you up and kicking you.
They didn't care. Facts.
Like, I'm not trying to play goon ball. I want to play basketball.
Yo, for real, man. Yeah, no, those are good ones. I kind of want to see Jordan the man. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of want to see if Jordan kind of lets his guard down and lets us see a little bit. It doesn't have to be a whole episode, but maybe kind of just see how Jordan is the father. Jordan. You know
why? It's messy. That's why we won't see it. It's messy.
Maybe you're right. I mean, but they don't got to get into the divorce and stuff. But kind of, I know he has a new wife now and another baby now. So kind of just show him, the father now at 50 something years old. Maybe see a different life. I think that would do a lot for Jordan's image, kind of to see him. And I thought it was cool seeing him how he interacted with his 2 oldest kids. Just seeing that, seeing the dynamic. I kind of want to see more of that. I don't know if we will.
Well, I hope so. But I'm just worried about, because I know the 2 boys be going off on social media and saying certain things. So I'm just worried if they show some and they may try to clap back or say something. So it's just like, because we know how social media can be.
Yeah, I know. I just think,
and I don't know the dynamics of. I know it's messy right now between those parties, and I would hate for stuff to play out in social media. It wouldn't even be playing out on social media because it ain't like Jordan on social media. But you have the documentary playing, and they'll say, "Well, A, B, and C happened," or ask him why he never. I kind of don't want to see that. I want to live in this moment of with the story they're telling now, because I think that stuff needs to stay within the family and behind closed doors. No,
I'm with you. I agree. And what I meant was, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but I said, like, what I meant is, like, I kind of want to see more of Jordan just at home, being, years removed from his playing days. Kind of want to see him, how he interacts in his daily life. Just, it could be a couple minutes right at the end of episode 10, just kind of seeing maybe a more humanized version of Jordan, maybe. That's obviously the messy stuff, the divorce, the issues with the kids and what I'm with you. I think that stuff is better left in private. But just kind of seeing a different side of Jordan that we don't normally see. I think would be pretty cool, but I don't know if we're going to see it. Well, who knows? But I think that would be, I think that would be dope.
I heard he had 100% control. So maybe we do see something. Maybe somebody say, hey, maybe you want to show your wife.
Very choreographed version of events. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. A lot of these things are choreographed anyway. So yeah. All right, man. I think we covered everything, episodes 1 and 2. So I think it's going to be a good few weeks. It's actually good to have something to look forward to on a Sunday night from a sports perspective, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm just like, oh man, I couldn't wait to 9 o'clock. I was just like,
I'm sitting there watching this shit like it's like I'm anticipating this shit like it was a playoff game, dude. Like, yeah, I feel you, man. Yeah, but yeah, man. Before you go, as always, man, take a few minutes to plug your podcast and let us know where we can find you on the social, podcast info, that sort of thing. Episodes you got coming up.
So I'm Jeff from Jeff versus the World. You can follow me at Jeff versus the World on Twitter and Facebook. Also on Instagram at The Real Jeff versus the World. What Jeff versus the World is just my banner. I have a bunch of podcasts under it. Hood Classics with my man Shaheed, where we go over and doing movies and whatever else we want to get into. Most of the time it's just movies. We review them, older movies, sometimes newer movies. We just started our Patreon page, so if you want to hit that up, the Patreon easily is just $3. I mean, if you ain't got it, you ain't got to join. I understand it's tough out there, but it's $3, and basically you get to pick 2 movies for a month, and we will review those movies. also with that $3 that you put in, you'll be put in a little pool. At the end of the year, we're going to give away something to the fans, from us to say, thank you and keep rocking with us and stuff like that. So we got that going. And then also me and Shaheed have our sports, Bully and the Hipster Sports Talk podcast where we talk about sports. There ain't been too much sports to talk about, and I wasn't sure if we were going to do talk about the Jordan and Bulls doc. We probably won't, just because I want to be able to fill up the show with just more to talk about other than that. And I'm sure everybody's doing a podcast
right
about that today and last night and stuff like that. And then also I have a wrestling side, which I'm Not Dave Wrestling podcast, where I just talk about wrestling and all the things that's going on, but being that's kind of not happening. I'm really not doing that now. So really, I just got the Hood Classics thing popping off. Tuesday, we will be doing a Cradle to the Grave. Manny, will you be with us?
I will. I'm actually getting ready to rewatch it tonight. I haven't seen Cradle to the Grave in a long time, so it's going to be interesting to look at it through a different lens.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching it, probably after I get off here too. Me and Shaheed was just texting me about it, talking about the badness of this movie. But yeah, so that's it.
Yep.
Jeff versus the World, and we usually put out episodes on Tuesday evenings. If we do sports, if we have a sports episode, it'll be out on Wednesdays. And if I do wrestling, I usually try to put them out either Sunday or Monday.
Cool, man. Yeah, definitely. Make sure you
can find me everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to your stuff at, you can find Jeff versus the World.
Dope. Yeah, man. Make sure you go check out Jeff versus the World. All the podcasts under that platform, man. They're really dope, really entertaining shows, man. Shout out to everybody that puts that podcast together, man. Shout out for you to being my guest today. Really appreciate it. It's going to be interesting, man. Next couple Sundays, it's going to be really interesting, man. As always, you guys know where you find me. I'm on Twitter at the Emmanuel Brown. Instagram, the Manuel Brown, Facebook, Manuel Brown, Snapchat, MannyBro15. Y'all know where to find the show. AGS Pod on Twitter, AGS Podcast, Instagram, Any Given Sunday, Facebook. Definitely show your support. Definitely check us out, man. We're going to get up out of here. Please be safe out there. Please wear your mask, wear your gloves, wear both. Please be safe. Stay home. If you don't have to be outside, stay home. All that good stuff, all the stuff you hear every day. We don't need to repeat it. Just please be safe. For Jeff Jones, I'm Manuel Brown. We are out of here. Peace.